Good morning. Good morning, everyone. How are we doing on this beautiful Tuesday morning? It is September 16th, week 2 of the 2025 NFL season is in the books. And boy, do we have a lot to talk about. A lot of things have happened since we departed yesterday. A lot of things have happened. We're going to go over everything. But now is when things could get really interesting. Things could get really interesting. But I want to open up the podcast with this. So I got a question for you. And this is a safe space. So you can answer this truthfully. How many of you have been playing on your phone, whether sitting on the couch, on the bed, whatever it may be? You get up to go do something. You come back to wherever you were sitting and you look and your phone is not there. It's not there. You swore you left it right here. You went up. You did what you remembered you had to do. You came back. And you're looking and you're looking and you're wondering and you're wondering. And then all of a sudden, you realize something. It's in your hand. That's how I feel some of these offenses and some of these coaches are right now looking at things on Monday morning and Tuesday morning. So last night's game for me was very, very, very twofold. Let's take the downside first. DeMeco Ryans is sitting this morning and he's looking at everything and he's looking around and he's looking back at the film and he's having that moment where he goes, it's in my hand. I had it. It was in my hand the whole time. I lost it and I forgot where I was. I was holding my phone the whole time. DeMeco Ryans needs to improve his close game coaching. The fourth down, so last night, the fourth down stop by the Buccaneers was 100% on DeMeco. You always take the points. Take the points. That game had been so close. Your offense had been able to get in territory, but not really make a huge push. But if you get 3 points then wins the game. On the same token, on the last drive, he tried to get so cute with the blitzes and the pressures and going after Baker Mayfield. He actually took himself out of the game. There's no need to be cute. They've got Gardecki out. The Buccaneers have Gardecki and Wirfs out. They're out. Don't get too cute. Don't do it. Just play football. Put 4 down linemen, blitz the nickel, leave it alone, and go for it. He did not coach the end of the game well. Now, yes, Baker Mayfield makes the amazing 4th down play. Everything ends up kind of working the way it needs to, but the answers were right in front of him. How to win that game was right in front of them. You had the lead, they had to move, everything was right there. And his late game and close game coaching still needs a little bit of refinement. Now, huge credit to the Buccaneers. They grit out a W that they easily could have lost. It was a really gritty game. These two teams are very close to each other. 100% believe they are very close in what they're capable of. I still believe the Texans are going to win the division. There's nothing inside of me that doesn't think they're going to turn this around. The offensive line's brand new. They got different things they're going to be working on. I still fully believe they're going to win the division. And when you look at this team, though, the Texans really are a defensive-focused team. Very defensive-focused. And their offensive coordinator, without having a true running game, is very, very hesitant with his play calls. Very hesitant. I really believe the Buccaneers are in for a real big battle with the Falcons now. The Falcons have a defense. Tampa Bay now has some injuries. Really got to watch them. Baker Mayfield last night, we got to watch. We all watched Sunday Night Football. McCarthy didn't look like he was hurt. McCarthy's actually truly injured. Mayfield won't come out of the game, but the reality is he could actually be hurt. He could actually be hurt. Congratulations to the Buccaneers. They grit out a huge, huge win for them. The Texans, they know what they need to do. They need to make a trade for Cesar Ruiz from the Saints. They need to get another offensive guard, and they need to make that play. They need to make that move and do that. That's what they need to do. It's that simple. The reality is the Texans and the Buccaneers both are playoff caliber teams, and we'll see what happens in the NFC. The Bucs may still be able to make the wild card with everything. So let's look at the stats real fast before we go on to the next game. Baker Mayfield was 25 of 38, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was sacked 4 times. As a team, the Tampa Bay offense had 30 rushes for 169 yards. That's 5.6 yards a carry and a touchdown. For Houston, C.J. Stroud, 13 of 24, 207 yards, a touchdown, sacked 3 times. Running the ball wasn't as good. You take away Nick Chubb's big run, it was actually garbage until that big run. He had the 25-yard run. Up until that point, he had 11 carries for 18 yards. He ended with 12 carries for 43. As a team, they had 19 carries, 84 yards, only because of that 25-yard run. The reality is Nico Collins was targeted 9 times, and that's not going to win you a game. Nico Collins had 3 receptions on 9 targets. Granted, Mike Evans had 5 receptions on 11 targets, so not much greater. But the Texans have to work on something offensively. Defensively, I love this team. 4 sacks of Mayfield, and it's not going to get better based off of what happened last night. All right, so that was game number 1. And then we had a doubleheader. And while the offense is trying to figure itself out for the Chargers, the defense is just kind of controlling the tempo. The Chargers beat the Raiders 20-9 last night. They had a 17-6 lead at halftime, 20-6 lead at the end of the third, and then ended up winning 20-9. Geno Smith had 3 interceptions. And I'm really trying to figure out what these offensive play callers are doing. I'm not kidding. I really want to know what the heck these guys are doing. Because why is Geno Smith throwing 43 times? 43 times. I don't get it. I don't get it. That's not a recipe for winning football games. Ashton Jeanty had 11 carries, 43 yards. The offensive line was getting stuffed all night, and he still ended up with almost basically a 4-yard per carry average. But it's not great. Brock Bowers, 5 catches on 8 targets. Jakobi Meyers, 6 catches on 12. Trey Tucker only had 3 catches on 8 targets. Wasn't fantastic by any means. But the reality is, the Raiders knew this. You can't have Smith throw 24 of 43. 43 passes is not how you win football games. And the Raiders know this. But they chose to do it against the Chargers instead of just beefing up, beating the Chargers where they needed to be beat. They couldn't do it. Their defense was fine. The stats, Justin Herbert, 19 of 27, 242 yards, 2 touchdowns, sacked twice. Geno Smith, like I said, 24 of 43, 183 interceptions. He was sacked 3 times. You had fumbles. You had interceptions. You had busted plays in the backfield. It wasn't great. It wasn't great. And the Raiders played a really good game. The Raiders played a really good game. The game plan was solid outside of throwing the football 43 times. I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't understand. Now, because we've got so much injury news, Khalil Mack did get injured last night for the Chargers. Khalil Mack went down with an elbow injury, and it didn't look great. He was in the sling on the sideline. It did not look great. So we will wait for today for the results of the scans and everything to come back. We'll wait for today to see how everything plays out. But if you're going to Monday morning quarterback for the Raiders and the Chargers right now, the Chargers need to figure out what they're going to be on offense. They do. They need to figure out what they're going to be on offense. Because the defense can't hold you forever. The defense cannot lead the charge forever, especially in this league. The offense has got to find its rhythm. The offense doesn't look great. The offense does not look fully in sync. The offense doesn't look like it's all there. That is the reality. The Raiders were in that game. 3 picks by Geno Smith. No picks by Justin Herbert. That's the difference there. That is the difference. And it's just, you can't have Geno throw that much, and you can't have an offense like the Chargers and actually win in the playoffs. 2 things can be true at once. But the Chargers get the W. Buccaneers get the W. I ended at 5-4 on my picks for the weekend. And really, it's showing some of these offensive coordinators And then I was talking with Big J last night. We were talking about the injuries, but then I started thinking about something else. It is really apparent that some of these play callers, without having preseason, are really screwed up and really scared and way too conservative at the beginning of the year because they don't even know what they have. You can't practice as hard in training camp, which means you're not getting everything that you need to out of it. The preseason games, half the teams play, half the teams don't. You don't really know. And the play calling has sucked for the Texans. The play calling has been bad for even a team like the Titans right now. And you're looking around and you're just going, what are they doing? Liam Cohen with the Jaguars. He's got weapons, and yet it doesn't look great. They're being so conservative and so careful. And we know that defenses can rule early on in the year. But not like this. Not like this. And it's when you get two teams evenly matched, the games right now don't look amazing. They look like they drag on a little bit. And I'll be honest with you. The games aren't nearly as good if you don't have everything the way you need to have it. If you don't have your offense set up the way your offense needs to be set up. And I really think it's screwing up how the teams play everything out. I really believe it's screwing up how the teams play everything out. So here we go. Week 2 is done. We're going to do this a little bit early because, boy, does the next segment got a lot with it. All right. 10,000-foot view of sports. What are we looking at in Major League Baseball now? After yesterday's games, the Phillies officially clinched the National League East. Huge win over the Dodgers, 6-5. The Yankees got blanked by the Twins, 7-0. The Astros beat the Rangers, 6-3. The Blue Jays beat the Rays 2-1 in a very exciting 11-inning game. And the Diamondbacks, who I don't know where the heck they came from. The Diamondbacks beat the Giants, and now we're only a game and a half back of the Mets. The Reds beat the Cardinals, so now they move from 2.5 to 2 games back of the Mets. And the Giants are still 2 games back of the New York Mets. And the Mets and Padres series begins today. On top of that, the Red Sox are only a half game in front of the Houston Astros now for that 5th wild card spot. The Yankees are only a game and a half after their loss last night in front of the Astros for the 4th wild card spot. This is getting crazy. These matchups mean everything. They absolutely mean everything. So the Milwaukee Brewers have the number 1 spot. They have the number 1 spot, period. The second spot as of right now goes to the Phillies. Okay? Right now, if the season were to end today, the matchups would be Mets at Dodgers Padres at Cubs in the National League. Then it would be the Astros at Mariners and Red Sox at Yankees in the American League. Can I just throw something out here? Part of me really wants the Guardians to interrupt this. Part of me really wants to see how this plays out. Now, the Rangers are not out of it. If they can win the next two against the Astros, they will only be a game behind the Astros. And the Yankees are playing the Twins, so they should win, right? I think? Maybe? Like there's an aspect of this that's really, really strange because the Tigers and the Guardians are going to play each other. And then next week, they play each other again. With that, it's going to get really interesting, guys. It is going to get really, really, really interesting. And I honestly love it. I honestly love it. I love how everything plays out. I love how everything is moving through. And the reality is, it works. The reality is, it works. So, where does that leave everything for this week? Well, today, every other series starts. So the Mets and the Padres start today. The Guardians and the Tigers start today. The Athletics and Boston start today. We're into the final 2 weeks, guys. It's that simple. We are in the final 2 weeks. We're doing good here. We're doing good. Baseball has some drama. It gets drowned out by football because football is king. But baseball has some drama. And a little bit of drama is what each sport needs to make it interesting. All right. My notebook is full for this next segment. My notebook is full for this next segment. So we're going to take this kind of nice and slow. So yesterday when we got off, I had talked to you guys about Joe Burrow being injured and being out for 3 months. And then as the day went on, it got worse and worse and worse. And now the injury list, just the ones I wrote down, the amount of injuries that could potentially change the trajectory of teams through the rest of the season is staggering. Watch this. Joe Burrow, out 3 months, turf toe surgery. J.J. McCarthy, ankle sprain, out 2 to 4 weeks. 3 weeks is what they're really circling right now. Justin Fields, concussion protocol. The Jets are starting Taylor in practice. Tyrod Taylor is being set up to start this weekend for the Jets. Jaden Daniels has a knee injury. His status, in the oh so poetic words, is iffy. Not sure if you're keeping track. That's 4 quarterbacks. 4. We already have Mac Jones that played for Brock Purdy. And now you're staring at potentially Baker Mayfield last night Not sure how bad that ankle actually is. We'll probably find out today. But then you've got these other role players that are going to change everything. A couple of role players, especially Robert Hunt and Austin Corbett, both starting guards for the Carolina Panthers, on IR, out. Connor Beebe, high ankle sprain. Cowboys, guard, out 6 to 8 weeks. Jalen Johnson, the star corner for the Chicago Bear defense, out indefinitely with a groin injury. Not looking too great. So when we go to the injury list, there's a lot of questions. So let's go ahead and run down the injury list here and see what could end up happening. Will Johnson, the corner, rookie corner for the Arizona Cardinals, suffered a groin injury in the win over the Panthers. They're waiting on word back on him. Opposite corner, Garrett Williams, has a left knee injury that he also suffered on Sunday. LJ Collier has a knee injury, the defensive end. He left the game on Sunday, and he is currently looks to be out. It's not good. The Cardinals have been a very, very sloppy team. Very, very sloppy team. The injuries are not helping anything. Then you go to the Atlanta Falcons. Honestly, pretty good. The big concern, though, is A.J. Terrell. Love him. A.J. Terrell Jr., outstanding corner. Outstanding corner. Played Justin Jefferson so well during that game Sunday night. He has a hamstring injury that he left the game Sunday night, and his availability is currently in a lot of question right now. A lot of question. So what's going to happen to him? Who knows? We got to wait and see what this week plays out. The Baltimore Ravens. Kyle Van Noy. He's basically looking at being out for multiple weeks due to a hamstring injury. Marlon Humphrey has a groin injury now for the Baltimore Ravens. What is it with groin injuries this year? And I was talking to a couple. I'm happy that we don't have the ACL, MCL, PCL, ACL. That gets really tiring just watching ACLs pop all over the place. I'm glad it's something else, but I'm not glad about all the injuries. Groins, hamstrings, what's going on? And I go back to what I said. The training camp is no longer set up to succeed in the regular season. The first 4 weeks, all these injuries happen. It changes the face of the season. It changes how the trajectory of teams goes. It's not what you want. But they don't want to be worked hard. They rather get injured during the season than in preseason. I'd rather have you be injured week 1 of the preseason, be out for 6 to 8 weeks, and then be back week 4 of the season and play the whole season. I'll give you 4 weeks off I'll give you the first 4 off. I want you for the last 12. But they don't look at it that way. Because some of them could be season ending. Oh well, this is football. You got to get ready to be hit, to play hard, to run the routes, to cover the routes, to push hard when you're on the line of scrimmage. Your calves, your toes, using all those muscles. Unless you have real action, you cannot properly prepare for this. And the injury reports are proving it. You go to the Buffalo Bills. They haven't been nearly as bad. But Matt Milano, pectoral injury, has not participated in practice. Ed Oliver, also ankle injury, did not participate in practice yesterday. Now, they have that early game. They have the Thursday night game against the Dolphins. Obviously, I've got the Bills. There's zero doubt about that. The Dolphins are in trouble. We'll talk about them in a second. But so far, not horrible. But you don't want the injury list to just keep growing. So, I talked about this, got the Panthers. Austin Corbett suffered a knee injury. He is officially on IR. He cannot return until October 19th. Robert Hunt tore his bicep. Ouch! Ouch! Tore his bicep. He is on injured reserve. And that is huge for the Panthers. And this week, they play the Falcons. And I'm not going to lie, in fantasy, I'm playing the Falcons defense because the rush is going to come right up the gut. Bryce Young is small. This is not good. To their credit, they signed Corbett. They signed Robert Hunt to give the line some structure in the middle. They did it right. Both of them are out, and Bryce Young's not going to be able to outdo that. The Panthers haven't looked good. We'll talk about the Cardinals here in a second. The Panthers haven't looked good, and now they've got two brand new offensive linemen in the center, the core of the defense, that are going to have to deal with now Jalen Walker, Caden Ellis, Leonard Floyd, and James Pierce Jr., which, ask J.J. McCarthy, isn't a bad outfit. Just saying. All right, the Chicago Bears. Kyler Gordon is week to week the corner for the Chicago Bears. That's not good when you already have Jalen Johnson out. TJ Edwards, hamstring, is also week to week. There's another hamstring. You go down to the Bengals. Joe Burrow has not been put on IR yet. He's not been put on IR yet. Now, Shamar Stewart, the rookie defensive end. This is great. He's out. He is currently got an ankle injury. He's out. It was one of his downfalls in the draft process. How healthy would he be? Well, so far not that healthy. The Cleveland Browns, no huge ones. Jack Conklin, probably the most notable, but he had that eye injury from the previous week. Dallas Cowboys, Connor Beebe, 6 to 8 weeks, suffered a high ankle sprain. Mentioned that. Jerron Bland is on the injury report. Kavontae Turpin had a neck injury. So watch that. May take away another weapon from the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys could be 0-2. Could have been 2-0. They are 1-1. And this week, they play the Bears. The Denver Broncos, so far, looking pretty healthy. Greenlaw, Dre Greenlaw, and Nate Atkins are the two main ones that are on the injury report. Detroit Lions, it looks a lot better as of right now. But it is starting to build up. So defensively, you got Marcus Davenport. You've got Ezekiel Turner, Josh Paschal, Malcolm Rodriguez, Aleem McNeil. So it's not great. Your defensive line is really, really struggling. And you can tell because they're getting no pass rush. Even Caleb Williams wasn't really pressured that much. Marcus Davenport has a shoulder injury. We'll see if it keeps him out for any amount of time. But they've got the injuries on that defensive line. And I'll tell you what. I'll just say it here. My top three teams to get Trey Hendrickson at the deadline when the Bengals are ready to move on because, well, he's not signing again next year. We know this. My top 3 teams to sign Trey Hendrickson are very simply the Cardinals, the Lions, the Raiders. Now, follow me on these. The Cardinals, they continue to struggle with closing out games. They need another defensive lineman to kind of be a stalwart. That's 1. 2, the Lions have injuries, and they need somebody opposite Aiden Hutchinson to help take pressure off of Hutchinson to get to the quarterback. And I believe the Lions are kind of feeling the pressure. Yeah, they exploded for 52 points. Now they're playing the Ravens this week. We got to see how it works out. And then the Raiders, the same thing as the Lions. They feel like they're right there. Trey Hendrickson, Max Crosby. Enough said. That's it. So there we go. All right. Green Bay Packers. Zach Tom, their offensive tackle, is on the injury report along with Aaron Banks. No news yet on what's going on. Jaden Reed broke his collarbone on Thursday Night Football. He's out for 6 to 8 weeks. Christian Watson had that injured ACL from last year. He's not eligible. That window isn't open until after week 4. So just keep kind of watching that. For the Texans, Jake Andrews, the center, and then the 2 receivers, Braxton Berrios and Christian Kirk, are both on the injured list. Joe Mixon, they need back. But I think he's out for the year. And I don't think it's great. I really don't. For the Indianapolis Colts, Travarius Ward, Latu, both of them are currently on the injured list. And September 13th, right before the game on Saturday, they put Jalen Jones on the IR. Jalen Carleys, the linebacker, really promising linebacker, was put on injury reserve with an ankle back in August, but they're still relatively healthy. Jacksonville, same thing. Brian Thomas Jr. had a wrist injury. He played all day Sunday with the wrist injury, and you could tell it was really hurting him because he had more drops than you'll ever see him have the rest of his career, probably. He was really struggling to clamp down on the ball. It showed up in the game. The Kansas City Chiefs right now, Mike Dana has a hip injury. Watch for that because their defensive line does not have a lot of depth. Christian Fulton has an ankle injury that he got against the Eagles. Watch that because, once again, they don't have a lot of depth. Kansas City cannot afford a bunch of injuries. They really can't. Xavier Worthy's already hurt. Jalen Royals. So they have 2 receivers hurt and 2 defensive players hurt now as well. Las Vegas Raiders only have 3 people total on the list. Lonnie Johnson, injured reserve. Aiden O'Connell, injured reserve. Jackson Powers Johnson, currently questionable. He's been dealing with an injury so far this whole season, going back and forth. They need him. That running game needs to get better. The Chargers have Elijah Molden, Khalil Mack. They're waiting on the news from. So we'll wait to see what the news on Mack is as we get into today. The Rams, still, Steve Avila. Ankle injury is still week to week. Colby Parkinson has a sprained AC joint, the tight end, now which I think is actually the 3rd tight end. So no big deal. Braden Fisk, though, this is a big one. Injured his oblique during pregame warm-ups before the Titan game. That's a big one because Verse and Fisk together make a very dominant side of the field. And it's not great. It's not great if he goes down. All right, this one's long. This one is really long. Oh boy. The Miami Dolphins. They've got a lot of people on this list. So let me tell you exactly, and I've said it most of the offseason. They are a puppy dog that's out on a walk that's got the leash in its own mouth. That's walking themselves. I don't know what's guiding this team. I don't know if everybody's going to play injured. I don't know if they're going to give 120% or if 100% is good enough. The injuries are mounting for this team. James Daniels was put on IR last week. Austin Jackson was put on IR yesterday. Another guard. Aaron Brewer is also injured. Another guard. Just saying. Malik Washington, thumb injury, questionable. Darren Waller, hip, questionable. Jalen Wright, questionable. Knee. The Dolphins are getting killed by injuries right now, but the reality is you gotta just kind of play through it. Now, another team that injuries started hitting them was the Minnesota Vikings, and this is not good. J.J. McCarthy, like I said, is out after he suffered a high ankle sprain 2 to 4 weeks. Aaron Jones, hamstring injury, is still being evaluated. They're not really sure. Gabriel Murphy, the linebacker, he went out in Sunday night's game. They're not really sure about him. Justin Scoley, concussion. He's in protocol. They may or may not have him next week. Brian Kelly, also concussion. We'll see if he comes back next week. It's starting to ramp up for the Vikings. Guys that are just on it right now: Andrew Van Ginkel, Harrison Smith, Jeff Okudah, Austin Keys. But it's still starting to mount. Morgan Moses for the New England Patriots is wearing a walking boot. Not really looking too great. Keon White and Christian Gonzalez are the two other players on the injury report. The Saints, Chase Young, Trevor Penning, the offensive tackle, and Chase Young, the defensive end. Both of those just on the injury report right now. Nothing else huge. Julian Blackmon, IR, Foster Moreau, Taysom Hill. Nothing too new. So the Saints, through 2 weeks, although they can't really play and they can't win a game, they're relatively healthy. The New York Giants, also relatively healthy. They did lose Micah McFadden to a foot injury. Anthony Johnson Jr. is out. He'll be out until October. Andrew Thomas, their offensive tackle, we're watching him. If they don't have him, they don't have anything. Andrew Thomas is a very good offensive tackle. If they don't have him, that offense is really, really, really going to struggle. Russell Wilson, like I said, had the best game, the last great game of his career yesterday. That is legitimately what I believe. He had the last great game of his career. Jackson Dart will be coming in here in the next 2 weeks. Honestly, he may be better against the Chiefs because I think the Chiefs are beatable, yes, even by the New York Football Giants. When you look at the Jets, not horrible. Justin Fields is now in concussion protocol. Michael Carter, the corner, has a shoulder injury. Tony Adams, the safety, was ruled out for the rest of the game against Buffalo due to a groin injury. Jermaine Johnson had an ankle injury, and he was ruled out for the rest of the game So we'll see. We'll kind of play it by ear and see what goes on there. The Philadelphia Eagles, Dallas Goedert, questionable. I think he's been questionable for the last 3 years. It's always ankle, always foot, whatever it may be. Pittsburgh Steelers, basically healthy, but Joey Porter Jr., rookie Derek Harmon, and Deshaun Elliott and Alex Highsmith are all now sitting on the injury report. San Francisco 49ers, Brock Purdy could play this week, could not play this week. Both can be true. Sirian Neal is in concussion protocol. Ben Barch suffered a high ankle sprain. He is out for this week. Maybe the next 3 weeks. We'll see. Jawan Jennings had a pretty good game. He does still have that ankle injury, so we'll see how that all plays out. Seattle Seahawks, Devon Witherspoon, MCL contusion. MCL contusion. I would keep him out for a game or two more. Don't rush him back. Nick Emanwari is also out. Like I said, do not rush them back. Don't do it. All right, the Buccaneers. Luke Gadecki, foot injury, was on crutches after the game last night. Kalijah Cansey, pectoral injury. He's going to be out. Chris Godwin Jr., Tristan Wirfs have already been on the injury report. The Tennessee Titans, T'Vondre Sweat, J.C. Latham, Kevin Zeitler, those are the big ones. Zeitler has an elbow injury. He's needed on that offensive line. J.C. Latham obviously needed on that offensive line. That's playing a big part with how the season's kind of going for the Titans thus far. Cam Ward sacked 11 times in 2 games. That's a lot. That is a lot. The Washington Commanders, mostly healthy except for the fact that Jaden Daniels is now considered day-to-day with a knee injury that he suffered against Green Bay. Austin Eckler tore his Achilles. He is now on injured reserve. Jonathan Jones now has a hamstring injury. We'll see how that plays out. And the tight end, John Bates, is currently a long shot to play on Sunday against the Raiders. So there is your injury report on this Tuesday, September 16th, of what the league looks like now. On what the league looks like right now. Refresh everything. No new updates. All right, good. So let's talk about what could happen. I told you guys some of my trade spots for Trey Hendrickson. Obviously, I play fantasy, and with all this news coming out, Burrow going down, you know, the Caleb Williams saga in Chicago, McCarthy going down, you got potentially Justin Fields out because of a concussion, not necessarily long term, just a game. Jaden Daniels, knee injuries are knee injuries. We've seen those be easy, quick, whatever, and then we've seen them take off and they don't come back for a while. So it's all over the board. And I want to close with this. Let's talk about some of the things that we could see happen. The NBA had one of the most active trade deadlines in a long time because of the new CBA. I think this year, because of the mounting pressure on certain teams. So I wrote these down. Teams that potentially have the most pressure, whether due to expectations or due to timing. The number one team that I think you're going to see make moves is the Detroit Lions. They've worked really hard to keep going and going and building and building and building. And now you lose your offensive coordinator. Kelvin Shepard, by the way, defensive coordinator, looked much better in his game plan against Caleb Williams. The secondary was dialed in. Once again, they don't have a pass rush, and that's hurting. But he was calling the correct plays defensively. He'll settle into his role. I think the Lions, though, have the most pressure due to expectations and kind of what this has been building to. Another team that's got pressure is the Cardinals. And it's the Cardinals because the coach has to show success. The coach has to show he can do this. The defense has looked decent, but in the first two games, they've almost collapsed and lost to both the Saints and the Panthers. You can't do that. You got to have the killer instinct, step on their throat, and don't let the opponent back up. And right now, the Cardinals don't have that. There's pressure on the Cardinals. Coach has been there long enough. They need results. There is massive pressure on the Colts. I believe, even though I'm not necessarily the biggest fan, I believe Carly has put pressure on Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen. I believe their team is playing differently because it's being coached differently. However, if I'm her, I'm asking Shane what the crap that was at the end of the game. Why we left the win up to a penalty that also should have been called. Go back and watch it. That also should have been called on the Colts on the Will Lutz field goal. If that was a penalty on the Broncos, it should have been a penalty on the Colts. I hate winning or losing in controversy. But either way, Shane Steichen's failure of play calling set up a game-winning 60-yard field goal instead of trying to make it a 50-yard field goal. If I'm her, I'm asking him a lot of questions, but there is mounting pressure on the Colts. I think there is absolutely mounting pressure now on the Broncos. Year number 2, they spent money in free agency. They need to win. The game against the Colts, they need to win. And do not be surprised if you start seeing teams really looking at these kickers. Because when you've got what's going on right now, look out. Look out, because it's vitally important. Remember, I am a Will Lutz field goal make and a Tennessee Volunteer field goal make away from being really, I would be then 7-2 this week in my picks. The field goals matter. The field goals matter. This is why I didn't understand why the Commanders signed Matt Gay. It made no sense to me. Why do you sign a guy who's got legitimate issues? The Raiders have Daniel Carlson, who, by the way, has done amazing for them. The Falcons brought in a guy. The Koo's been their kicker for a while. John Parker Romo goes 5 for 5. Guess what? It's his job now. It's his job now. So the pressure's going to mount for some of these teams. Do the Cowboys, do they try to make a move? Or does Jerry Jones just understand what's happening? Who knows? The Falcons are under pressure. They've got to win. If they need to make a move for an offensive lineman, or they need to make a move for a corner, they've got to make that move. If you need to make a move for a receiver, another receiver that can be opposite of Drake London to really get some attention, make the move. The pressure's going to be there. You got to make the moves. The Eagles have consistently made a bunch of aggressive moves. So did the Chiefs at the deadline. Making an aggressive move to go win the Super Bowl. To make a deep run. And these teams are going to have to make some in order to compete at the end of the year the way the expectations and the circumstances are. Some coaches have already had 3 years. They need to prove in year 4 they're ready to go. Some teams have just consistently been building. They got to take the next step. So we'll see what happens. But we will see what happens. As of right now, just refreshed everything. There is no new injury news of note to go over, which means that is going to wrap up this Tuesday podcast. Injuries. I feel it a little bit more because of playing fantasy football. I get to see all of them. Today, after we're done here, I'm actually going to go to my tablet, go through all my fantasy teams, and look at how everything shook out with the injuries over the weekend. What moves do I have to make? That's what I get to do because of fantasy football. I get to see the players and see what's going to happen. And to the credit, Yahoo Sleeper, which is the app that I use, they try to get you the updates as fast as possible so you can make an informed decision about whether you should start them or sit them. But, I mean, I'm going to go through all my fantasy leagues here, and I'm going to find out where is everybody on the injury right now. Jaden Reed's going to go to my IR. Teams that have Austin Eckler, go to my IR. I'm looking at a couple of teams right now. Do I want their players? The Cincinnati Bengals. You may want Jamar Chase. Is T. Higgins worth anything right now with Jake Browning? The Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams seems to really like Rome Odunze. DJ Moore hasn't done that much. Is he worth getting rid of? What are we going to do here? They've got Luther Burden. I think DJ Moore could potentially be traded as well. Look for DJ Moore and A.J. Brown to be traded. I think DJ Moore is decent, but I think Williams has a better rapport with Odunze. And I think cap-wise, it would be smarter to go Rome Odunze, Luther Burden, maybe bring in a veteran, than it would to go with DJ Moore. But we'll see what happens. All right, that's it. 23-hour break. We will be back tomorrow, 9 o'clock Eastern Time in the morning. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It's been fun. Well, going through injuries isn't actually fun. It isn't actually fun. It can be slightly depressing, but it was fun. And this season is 2 weeks in. College football's 3 weeks in. We got some big matchups in college football this weekend that we'll go over tomorrow. We'll do our fantasy deep dive. And hey, here we go. Week 2's done. We are looking ahead to week number 3 in the NFL season. No football tonight. Get some rest. Hey, come home, take a bubble bath, and go to bed at 9:30. Get some good sleep. You need it. You've been watching late football for the first 3 weeks with college and with NFL. Get some rest. Take a bubble bath and relax. Just relax. But have a fantastic evening. I appreciate each and every one of you. Make sure to like and subscribe. As always, I deeply appreciate it. Until tomorrow, guys, for Sports Talk with Hawk, I am Hawk, and I'm out. Have a great day.